Here's Brody Brazil.
I want to say right here, right now, that I'm not a huge fan of speculation. I don't like laying things out that are a million miles away or would take some convoluted process to actually come together. But I am here in this video to present several different pieces of information that when you start to step back and look at the bigger picture, it kind of makes you wonder if the Oakland A's, in their potential relocation to Las Vegas, might actually transition to a third stadium site in the very near future because of some recent developments. Let's establish when they first decided that they were going to try and move. It was this wild, wild west site that was west of the Strip, west of I-15, just north of Allegiant Stadium. Then a couple weeks later, they struck a new deal after their prior binding deal was just dismissed, I guess. With GLPI and Bally's, that was for free land on 9 acres of the site of the Tropicana Hotel. Could it be possible that something else more desirable just opened up that they would have an opportunity to now at least also consider? What are we talking about here? The All-Net Resort. This is 27 acres of precisely flat land right now, like it's ready to be built on right now. It's on the north end of the Strip. It's near the Fontainebleau, which I think is just about to open up after multiple decades of construction and delays. It's near the Stratosphere, but most importantly, it's right next to Circus, and it's right across the street from the festival grounds. You may remember that name because that was one of the earliest considered sites. It kind of was rumored as one of the A's favorite sites to land a new ballpark location down there, but they couldn't strike a deal with the owner of that site, so they moved on several different iterations down the road. The All-Net Resort, they had been planning this for more than a decade. They'd been trying to work it out. Their idea was to build a $4.9 billion facility, including a hotel, retail spaces, commercial, obviously all of that stuff, I believe residential too. But the centerpiece, and obviously the naming part of it, the All-Net, was for an NBA arena to try and lure professional basketball to Las Vegas. Now, there's also a totally separate plan to bring the NBA to Vegas. That is the Oakview Group. They've got a site on the south end of the Strip. They're going to privately finance a $13 billion thing. That's a whole totally separate thing. But the All-Net Group and Resort, this plan was kind of in first. In fact, it has been around since 2013. But as of recently, which I'll explain in just a second, Clark County finally shut the door on them and said, no more extensions. If you're having problems getting this together, we can't continue to move forward with it with you. They had renderings for this over the years, and you can kind of tell even how dated these renderings are. Over the course of a decade, they had the plans, they had the ideas, they just never could move forward on funding and a development agreement for that site. By the way, did you see there the NBA arena had a retractable roof? They love their retractable roofs in Las Vegas. That is the All-Net site. Almost 30 acres. There you see the Strip, the Stratosphere, the Fontainebleau, which is built in this Google Earth image. And so I want to point that out, the acreage and how it sits right now, flat land, that's outlined there in the neon green. And then there's the red arrow to show you where the festival grounds are. That was the other prime site that the A's really wanted, to build a stadium, to build the ballpark village surrounding it. That is something that they were serious about. Now, the green arrow all the way on the other side, you're looking south here, by the way. You can kind of see the airport top left. That green arrow represents where the Tropicana Hotel is, and the 9-acre postage stamp size piece of land is down the Strip of where they're currently slotted to be. So it kind of gives you a lay of the land and shows you why this All-Net Resort site is great. Easy in, easy out, close to the Sahara, close to access to I-15. But let's quickly go back to the All-Net Resort and why it kind of collapsed, why that couldn't be a thing. Funding issues. As I mentioned, they went to several different sources of funding, could never lock in and secure how they were going to pay for this. And there were extensions given for this development with an agreement for Clark County. Like, they didn't have an agreement, so they kept getting extensions after extensions. And finally, recently, this was within the last week, they were denied a fourth and ultimate extension to the process and the project, meaning that Clark County would be done with them, meaning it's basically the end of the all-net resort project. As far as I can understand, unless there's some other way to revive it, there's literally an 11th hour change of how they could get this to go. As far as I understand, it's about as done as could be. And I'm pretty sure that that group owns the actual land or had access to owning the land to go forward with their project, just didn't have the funding to do it. So let's now go back to the Tropicana site for the A's. Why would they be enticed to maybe consider this as another and new landing spot for a new stadium? Tropicana site's only 9 acres. They don't get to control what surrounds them. They literally only control the footprint of free land and 9 acres that they've been given. They also have to wait for demolition of the Tropicana Hotel and what Bally's and GLPI does with it. And it's not to say that those two entities like baseball and the A's and Bally's and GLPI, it's not to say they can't agree, but it takes two to tango here. You got to tear down the hotel. That's a totally different project. There's also the fact that locals don't prefer, and I say going to the Strip, I mean, this is technically on the Strip, but the access here, it's farther away from the airport. There is so much easier access to the all-net location from a driving and parking and space opportunity than there ever is at the Tropicana site. The Tropicana site has been viewed by many as saying down there, well, would you build a baseball stadium in Times Square in New York? No. Then why would you build one on the corner of Tropicana and Las Vegas Boulevard on the Strip? Locals might be a lot more enticed to go to this new site, the all-net site, rather than the Tropicana site. Now, the one drawback I would say here is that the Tropicana site, as far as I know, was legally binded to SB1. And the $380 million of public funding from the state and from Clark County that the A's had to build, or a baseball team had to build on that site to receive that public benefit. Can that be changed, modified, altered? Beyond my comprehension here right now. The all-net site for the A's. 3 times the land, ready to be built on. It's turnkey right now. You could not only build your stadium, if you could do it on 9 acres, imagine what you could do on almost 30. You could run your own stadium. You could run your own ballpark village. You don't have to answer to anybody else or put up with the casino design that they're going to do as part of your complex. And don't fret about the NBA if you're Las Vegas, because that other group, they're already much farther along in the process and funding and getting things together on the other side of the Strip. Not doing the all-net site, not doing the all-net project, that's not going to stop Las Vegas from getting an NBA team. In my opinion, Las Vegas, Seattle, easily the next 2 expansion cities for the NBA. When that happens, I don't know. But I think going back to Seattle is important. And I think the league has probably realized that they're ready to try Las Vegas, the NBA. So if you're the A's and you're looking at what just opened up here, again, I'm not here to speculate, but I am here to at least explain a thought process. If you're the A's, and even if you stay at the Tropicana site, you're always going to look back at this one that just opened up right after you were approved relocation. Maybe before you've unveiled a design and an architect for the Tropicana site, which you've been talking about now for 6 months. You might always regret that you didn't try this, even if you stick with the Tropicana site, because you initially saw this area as being better. A lot of people have preferred this in Las Vegas. But maybe the A's are committed to or stuck to the Tropicana site. Or maybe they're looking right now and saying, this just opened up. How could we not at least consider this? Did things get a little bit more cloudy all of a sudden? Interesting. You made it here to the end of the video. You know I appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. Also, don't forget, subscribe to the channel so I can definitely see you back here next time.